Wow, we got a slow intro. Again, that budget we don't have, but it is Friday, December 19th. Beautiful day in the Okanagan. Sun is shining. I'm Jim Check. With me, Iain Burns, managing editor out there in the nation's capital. Look at this, two dapper guys all dressed up. I think we should do the Christmas theme next week, but we're here with the Really Big Show, Canada's best news commentary, undiscovered show on the internet. And you're going to learn more here than you're probably going to learn in the CBC in the last decade. And I say that lightly because we're going to show you, after we show you everything that's going on, and then we'll show you the CBC website, and you make your own conclusions. But we've been bang on every time. They may surprise us one day. Maybe somebody's watching the show over there and they're going to make us look like fools one day. But yeah. Anyway, you ready to rumble? I got a bunch of headlines here that we're going to, some of the stuff that's going to be on the show. Carney says no deal, and yet promises to protect supply management. Policies that benefit the few at the expense of the many. That seems to be a regular theme. USA sets out for the biggest goal ever in history. A tale of two nations. And Laurel and Hardy make comeback in politics. Who would have thought? Ma shows why he fits right in with the Liberals. Hype videos, that's the next step up from the photo ops. I mean, hype videos, all the rage now in the Liberal Party. First report on the Department of Justice finds misconduct. Surprise, surprise, eh? Tim Hortons. Oh my, Tim Hortons. Have you fallen so far? Tamara Litch, now a journalist. Skate Canada goes for the cancel culture and fails. A BC NDP not finding a way to get BC to move on from their mess. And what's going on in Trump world? There's so much in Trump world, none of it like massive, but a lot of stuff. And the big one, Justin Trudeau, back in the news, makes the big stage at a Kirk event. King Charles talks about the cost of living while all robed up. It's the height of hypocrisy. All that and a lot more. I mean, we do have a really big show, as usual, a really big show. And lots to kick it off. But I just want to set the stage with some lofty goals. And I think this is one of the more important goals that we've seen. I remember when John F. Kennedy said, we're going to the moon. And the world watched. And now Trump signs an executive order declaring the U.S. will return to the moon by 2028. And establish a lunar outpost there by 2030, and will prepare to make the Earth an interplanetary species by going to Mars. That has an Elon Musk dream. Occupy Mars, and he said it's very important to become an interplanetary species. You know, you'd think that all the climate people would be all crazy about that, because there's your fallback. We can go destroy the climate on Mars.
Well, it's desperately in need of emissions, isn't it, Mars, to try and give it a livable atmosphere so that we can go over there and spill it all over there.
Maybe somebody should talk to Mark Carney with a CCUS and say we can pump the carbon dioxide to Mars instead of into fissures in the ground. And another one I want to highlight just to show you some policies that could work here in Canada as more and more billionaires line up to feed the accounts of the young people in America. There's $1,000 that's going in there for young children. I think it's 10 and under to start. You're going to get $1,000 into an investment account. And Michael Dell put in a few billion, and now Ray Dalio is stepping up, and he's going to throw $75 million in there. So other billionaires have been challenged to feed this account. Why don't they do something like this in Canada? This is the part, just do something for our children, teach them financial literacy, and this money will end up, some of the calculations that these kids could have 300 grand.
And it's good for these people who are donating as well, because you need everyone, as many people as you can find to be involved in the economy and in the stock market. It benefits these titans of industry because all their wealth is in the stock market as well. So it makes perfect sense. But I just quickly go back to that thing about space. One of the really cool features of that is they said they want to build a nuclear power plant on the moon by, I believe, 2030, I think was the target. I just think that is exceedingly cool to have a nuclear power plant on the moon, because that would obviously then enable you to have permanent human settlement on the moon.
Well,
And to think, when I was growing up, it was all dying. It all seemed to be dying out. All the kind of buzz of the 60s and 70s in terms of space exploration, we kind of relegated ourselves to rovers and things like that, which are cool. But it just seemed to have been forgotten and kind of neglected. But Trump, you have to say, Trump personally is interested in this, isn't he? And he's pushed this. He is the one that asked for the inaugurated the Space Force, which he was mocked for doing. And he's the one that's done this. So, you have to give him credit for that if you like your space.
Yeah, Elon Musk is going to make this possible too. When he says he's going to do something, sometimes his timing might be off, but he does get stuff done. The guy gets stuff done. But we're going to have a rebuttal on Elon Musk here at the end there. AOC is piping up to tell you what she thinks of all Elon Musk and his plans and what he's accomplished. But let's go back to what's going on here in Canada. And this is a tweet out there by Pierre Poilievre. And a tale of two nations, as one nation seems to be has goals to go to Mars. The other one can't decide on whether it wants to build a pipeline or not. It seems like a simple thing. Pipeline or not? Yes, no, maybe so. Do we have an answer? We do not. And grocery inflation in Canada, 4.7, and the forecast is to be worse as we go into 2026. And the United States, inflation numbers coming down. And that, the food professor says, is a stark contrast to, here's the tariff-happy president, and yet their food inflation goes down. Because tariffs are supposedly going to punish the nation that puts them on, because it actually adds to the consumer price. And we saw that here when Canada chucked tariffs on, it actually hurt us way worse than they pulled them off, because it was actually hurting us here in Canada. But here's the most important thing that's going on here. Do we have a deal? Do we not have a deal? Is there a possibility of a deal? Do we have a pipeline? Do we not have a pipeline? Let's listen in on this Carney talk trade here.
Okay, so let me ask you what you understand Donald Trump's position on CUSMA to be right now. You had that meeting with him and President Sheinbaum not too long ago.
Yes.
At that point, did he say the deal is dead, I'm ripping it up? What indications did you get?
He did not say any of those things. What we talked about, the two presidents and myself, we talked about the process for reviewing, renegotiating CUSMA. We talked about potential timelines, although we didn't settle on specific timelines for that. The expectation is that it's going to unfold over the course of 2026. If I'm fortunate to be with you this time next year, we'll be talking about that progress. So that's the first thing. The second is, I will refer back to what I just said and what I've been saying from day one. Control what we can control, what we can't. We can't necessarily control. The U.S. objectives do move around in these trade discussions, whether it's with the European Union, Japan, China, Canada. They do move around. Our discussions, my discussions with the President Trump, as have been President Sheinbaum's discussion with President Trump, has been there'll be a review and adjustment to CUSMA, USMCA as the Americans call it. Not that there will be any, as you just said,
leaving it entirely.
Leaving it entirely.
The sectoral tariffs that you seem to be close to dealing with, whether it was reducing them or getting rid of them, is that not part of the negotiation?
That will necessarily be part of the negotiation. Okay. From our perspective, those are hugely important. And look, the United States needs to make a choice around these, which is, does it recognize, appreciate that the U.S. itself is in a stronger position if there is relatively free movement of automobiles, steel, aluminum, lumber, aerospace across the U.S. border, or not? And how it views its competitors. Does it view its competitors as Canada, or does it view its competitors as China? And these are perspectives that the U.S. Takes different views on at different points in time. And the CUSMA discussion, that review discussion, will be part of it. In the meantime, what we are going to continue to do is build this country. That's what Canadians want. And we're going to continue to deepen our trading relationships abroad. Both of those things are good in and of themselves, but both of them put us in a stronger position with the U.S. We are in a stronger position today with the United States than we were at the start of the year.
huh? We're going to do things that make us stronger on our own. We can't even decide on a pipeline. What have we done?
Or anything else, for
What
that
have we
matter.
done in 9 months that make us more reliant on ourselves? I would like to know. And then, yeah, I just would like to know what's been done. How, like what? Where's the pipeline? Where's the decision on the pipeline? Even if it's a no, just tell us it's no.
It's just baby steps, isn't it? And it's completely the opposite of what he promised. He said that we would go at speeds we didn't think were possible, sounding like Captain Kirk or something there. But you know, what would you say this is? Warp speed? I don't even think this is impulse power. Scotty's doesn't know what to do. Can't get the engine going.
And then has the CBC with their $1.55 billion been watching Fox News, because they tried that new set there, and who's ever running the camera switching there, holy cow! And then the pan camera, I was just like, wow. If we had just a fraction of that 1.55 billion, I can tell you right now, we would do a better job. Like that, with all the props they had in the background there, and like they did the typical Fox layout there. I mean, Mark Carney is very performative. Like, the signing of that executive order, all the things he's trying to copy, his wife trying to call herself the first lady. They really are about performance, and you can see the CBC now trying to act like Fox News, which they tell you that is a horrible news station, but they sure look like they want to be Fox, except for, actually doing anything other than performing the function of the Prime Minister's office.
Well, when Fox is interviewing a Republican, maybe you could say, when they put their guard down. But even then, Fox does have a couple of actual real interviewers who give Trump and Republicans quite a hard time. Whereas Rosemary Barton there, so deferent. Just let him speak. Let him spout the usual nonsense without cutting him off, as she does all the time when she speaks to Polyev.
Yeah, she might have had a list of questions and handed it to him first. Is this one okay? Should I ask this one? What should I? And it was just word salad. It was absolute word salads. But then, the thing that's been on the table and it's been talked about, and it's stopping deals in the UK, stopping deals in Europe, and stopping deals in the United States, supply management. Laurel and Hardy take center stage. Here's the comeback of Laurel and Hardy on stage here. Let's listen in.
What do you think of the series of conditions that the U.S. trade rep says Canada has to meet in order to extend CUSMA, including bolstering market access to U.S. dairy and addressing the provincial bans on U.S. alcohol? Does this make you feel more encouraged or discouraged about reaching an agreement with U.S. President Donald Trump? And Premier Ford, if you could weigh in afterwards, please.
Well, I'll put this in the context. These are a subset of issues of a much bigger discussion. We've been clear about our approach to supply management. We continue to stand by that. We'll continue to protect supply management. And we continue to see tremendous benefits, first and foremost for Canada, but very much for the United States, of pooling resources where possible in the auto sector, in the steel sector, in the aluminum sector, in the lumber, for forest products. And we will enter those discussions on the review of CUSMA in that spirit. The President and I had a long conversation with President Sheinbaum about this a little under 2 weeks ago, which set out the broad parameters for the review of CUSMA. We'll work closely together with the Government of Ontario, other provinces that are affected by potential adjustments there. And we will always pursue an agreement that is in the interest of Canadian workers, Canadian families, and we'll only sign an agreement that's consistent with that. And I'll give the Premier an opportunity to speak.
Well, regarding trade, obviously, I have full confidence in the Prime Minister and his negotiating with President Trump. As for alcohol, we've seen wine sales go up 76%. They're having a record year. The grape growers are having a record year. Small, large wineries are having a record year. Distilleries are. And when the Prime Minister and President Trump come up with a great deal for both countries, we'd be more than happy to bring in some maybe Kentucky bourbon. But until then, we're going to hold off.
Here's the food professor on supply management. So again, policies that benefit the few at the expense of the many, and has been talked about many times on this show. Supply management hurts the consumer, We talked with Renee Merrifield, and the food professor has done a really big interview on it. And here it is, the fact that Canada has ended over $3 billion in compensation to dairy farmers for trade deals at a time when they're producing more milk and holding on average significantly more asses beyond ridiculous. And they're dumping dairy. They're dumping, we played the clips there where they're dumping dairy. Supply management benefits the few. And this is the thing with supply management. Who does it benefit? The Liberals. And even Pierre Poilievre. Like, I mean, they're scared of losing votes. This is a very powerful lobby group. And so the rest of Canada is going to suffer for supply management. And we're going to suffer because of the Online News Act because they want to control media in Canada.
And they wouldn't even talk about that.
Yeah.
Right? They called an abrupt end to this conference. I mean, you can't really call it a press conference, but whatever you want to call this staged, media appearance. They called an end to it very early. Then they went to sign the document and a few questions were shouted. One of them was, what about the Online News Act? I mean, I'm not convinced that the journalists that shouted that did so because they're interested in that, but just because there were literally only like 4 things mentioned by the US trade representative. So it was kind of like you had to mention that. And obviously they ignored it. And that, again, is about special interests. It's about appeasing a very, very small number of people in this country who work for the media, own media outlets, that thought that was a good idea and are sticking to their guns.
Here's Ford and Carney again, and this is where the Laurel and Hardy part comes in.
You're not going to hold the documents up?
Oh, yeah.
Are you? Mark Carney and Doug Ford meeting in Ottawa, giving their best Donald Trump impression.
I'm not used to the reporters screaming at us while we're signing.
But a similar Oval Office signing over the current tariffs, now essentially ruled out.
My judgment is that is now going to roll into the broader CUSMA negotiations. So we're unlikely, given the time horizons coming together, to have a sectoral agreement.
Sectors like steel, aluminum, and lumber now seemingly stuck with a 50% tariff for the foreseeable future, after a deal to reduce them was scuttled.
America's jobs and growth are at stake.
By Doug Ford's anti-tariff ad.
That was the best ad that's ever been run, 12.4 billion views.
The Prime Minister's face telling another story. Carney apologized to Trump over the ad, not enough to restart talks.
We're ready to sit down on the weekend, negotiate any weekend, anytime, but we're also busy.
Busy preparing for the renegotiation of the Canada-US-Mexico free trade deal in 2026, after the Americans outlined key demands, including changes to the online streaming and online news acts, ending bans on selling U.S. alcohol, easier access for American companies to get provincial contracts, and likely the most controversial, more access to Canada's dairy market, something Carney promised he wouldn't let happen during the election, which he reiterated today.
Not on the table. It's a negotiation. Each side has a set of issues. They put those issues on the table.
Carney putting tighter auto and aerospace ties on the table, but above all else, wanting certainty for the Canadian economy. Likely wishful thinking under this president.
Much of this success has been accomplished by tariffs. My favorite word, tariffs.
There you go. So supply management, they're standing their ground on it. Again, this is a holdup in UK, this is a holdup in Europe, and this is a holdup in the United States. So how many other industries will suffer for the interests of a few?
Whatever it takes. They've shown that. Doesn't matter what the price is. They've shown that they're sticking to this. They even unanimously passed a bill through the House of Commons saying that supply management is basically is like the deity of this nation that we all get down on our knees in front of and praise the Lord of supply management. And you got like that little news piece there, that news video, barely even talked about it. People don't really ask questions about it. It's not really part of the national discourse because it's inconvenient to speak about it. And as we know, to our eternal suffering here in this country, there isn't really an independent media. So if the big boys don't talk about it, nobody talks about it. It's not on anybody's mind.
Yeah, like people will say that, lightning rod there, supplies, it protects small Canadian dairy farmers. Why don't you talk to some of them? And if you want free trade, then have free trade. Anyway.
But it's not just that. It's, for good or ill, Mr. Rod, we based on very loosely on a philosophy of free trade and a free market, an open market. That means that you can't just arbitrarily protect certain people's jobs, just because they happen to be politically consequential and quite intimidating if you're a politician, because you could do that about anything. You could do that for any sector. You could go in there and protect, literally anything. You could do it to lumber if you want. That's what the Americans are trying to do. You could go in there and try and kill the free market and impose a different style of economics. But if you do that, and the reason that we don't do that is that other countries that we trade with and rely on for our prosperity would stop doing business with us, which is what they do over supply management. So they would break trade deals that we have. They would stop trading with us. And as a consequence, the economic damage would be a lot more profound and widespread. So what you have to explain is, why protect this one industry, or whatever you want to call it, sector of the economy? Why just this one? Why give it so much special affection and care and sacrifice God knows how many billions of dollars, how many tens of thousands of jobs in other sectors that have to suffer, that have to be punished by other countries to allow this supply managed system to continue?
And then they even asked Doug Ford there if he's running for Pierre's job. We're going to play that trending politics one there, that last clip on this piece here. If you go down there and grab that one, we'll go past some of these other ones. And lightning rod, behave yourself. Again, if you're going to do the labeling and all that other stuff, we're just going to ignore you. It's okay if you have actually something worthy.
You're saying that as if I'm ashamed?
What's that?
You're saying that as if I'm ashamed of it? I've said that every single time, basically, we've done one of these shows. I'm not ashamed of that. You silly boy. You should be ashamed for bringing that up. Have you ever brought up, as I've said, Gary and Ananda Sangari? Is he just a foreigner to you then? What do you think about that? There's a minister, one of numerous ministers in the Liberal government that your beloved Mark Carney put in power, who were born elsewhere and came to Canada. Do you just despise those people? You're an extraordinary bigot, aren't you, Mr. Rod? I don't think Mark Carney would give you the time of day. I don't think he would want to speak to you for 10 seconds.
Let's go down to the trending politics one. I'm just going to ignore him for the rest of the day. Is the punishment fits his antics there?
Lightning Royd. I like that as a nickname.
Online News Act, is that up for repeal? Online Streaming Act? Ford, what do you make of Pierre Poilievre losing members of his caucus to Mark Carney? Would you like to comment on that?
How's your French Premier, Ford? You working on that at all?
Come see, come saw.
You don't want to comment on Poilievre's leadership right now? You're critical during the election.
I'm happy here with the Prime Minister. He's doing a great job. And we're going to move this country forward, and we're going to move the province forward. But thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Prime Minister, is it on the table repealing the Online News Act, Online Streaming Act, Online News Act? Is that on the table?
We're not going to see them?
Okay, Iain, can we reach out to the State Department and ask about the Online News Act? Because I mean, that's the only people we get an answer from. Last time we reached out, we got a reply. We got no replies from the government. The Online News Act, and I can tell you this as a fact, being in media, is crippling media in Canada. All media outlets have lost half their traffic and half their revenue. That's a stat. That's surveys. And I was interviewed on the National about it, and they've lost it too. It's just that they get to go to the trough, and the government shovels money into their trough, whereas the other outlets, close to 100, have failed since then. And they name the Online News Act. Yet this Liberal government does nothing about it because it gives them control of the media. It's censorship of media. It chokes us. Liberal government does nothing about it. Why is there an echo now all of a sudden?
It's also because the pressure groups, very powerful lobbyists, pressure groups that represented the media conglomerates in Canada, asked for this. They asked the Liberal, or that's one way of putting it, demanded it from the Liberals. And the Liberals are quite media savvy, as we've commented many times. We've looked at how smart they are with media. So they wanted to be on good terms with these media conglomerates. It's in many ways it's no more complicated than that. They just wanted to give them what they wanted, even if what they wanted destroyed the rest of the independent media landscape in Canada, and even as it turned out, harmed the very people that asked for it, who were then given taxpayers' money to help keep them afloat. But that's what again. I don't know how many times I've said this now, but I'll say it again. We like to pretend that countries like Canada are not corrupt because we don't have photographs of suitcases full of money transferred between gangsters and politicians. That sort of thing doesn't happen, but things like this do happen, and supply management, and that is corruption. There's no other way to look at it. It's subversion of the democratic will. It's a minority, very, very strongly motivated, well-organized minority, getting something at the expense of the majority by quite nefarious means and cheeky means. And it just, on it goes. It's just yet another facet of the corruption that plagues countries like Canada.
Losing power here. Again, our budget is a little lighter than the 1.55 billion. And if you want to help out, we can put a link in there so that we can, stay on here and keep Canadians informed of what's going on. Here's Michael Maw making one of his first appearances, defending his decision to override 27,000 votes. Here's this one man deciding over the 27,000 votes that Canadians get once every 4 years to exercise. But he was making the decision for them.
You talk about your principles not changing, but just in the last 7 months, some of the things you said about the Liberal government, for example, with money printers working overdrive, what future does Canada have under the Liberal feudal regime? I do not see a future here. Day in, day out, the Liberals have shown us whom they truly value. They cater to the common criminals with fairness for the thief, murderer, and drug dealer, and firmness for the honest citizen and compliant taxpayer. This is the party you've just joined here. These are your words from November and December. You talk about principles, but you're really kind of going against what you've just said there.
Well, as I said, in order to fight that, being on the opposition, to be criticizing and deepening that division, I decided to roll up my sleeves and actually do something to it. I have now better access to ministers and the Prime Minister to deliver those voices on behalf of the Markham Universe. I think this is a better approach than creating very negative views and not finding solutions.
That's good. That's good.
Just incoherent babble, wasn't it? Absolute babble. No attempt to try and seriously explain why he's done something so controversial.
Yeah, I mean, the question from the interviewer there should be, you're literally a nobody. Nobody knows who you were. People voted for the blue sign, and then you decide that those 27,000 voices mean nothing. You decide.
And also having used extraordinarily strong language in condemnation of the Liberal Party, specifically by name, the Liberal Party, thing that he's just joined. And he's just got no response whatsoever to having to listen to his own words, accusing the Liberal Party of being in favour of serfdom or whatever that line was about. I mean, how could such a person ever be taken seriously? I don't know.
And then if that's not bad enough, here we go. Now we're doing hype videos. This is from your friend Gary, the guy that wants your guns, and that leaked video. But now he's running hype videos. This is embarrassing to watch. But hey, we're gonna play it for you anyway. That's good. What do you think?
No amount of epilepsy-inducing flashes and chopsticks in the background can make that guy look like anything other than a waddling penguin who's lost at the zoo, which is exactly what he looked like. He like they tried to speed it up, and he was just like waddle, waddle, waddle. It's like, come on, you can't make that guy look cool. Don't even try.
$750 million has been set aside for this gun buyback program. $50 million has already been spent. 0 guns bought back. Many provinces and a territory now say are not going to adhere to it. And 1% of CCANs inspected. That's where the real problem is. Why not divert that money to the CCANs and inspections?
Because I mean, if I take what you not as a rhetorical question, but as a real question, I would say because it's too expensive and it's too difficult, and they don't know how to do it, and they don't know if it would succeed. Whereas this kind of gesture politics, easy peasy, goes down very, very well in places like Toronto and Quebec. Nothing to lose. And an alien would never vote for them anyway. So this just makes sense politically, even though it's completely brainless as a policy and won't achieve anything except wasting vast sums of taxpayers' money. And obviously as well, making people's lives miserable, people like hunters and people that use guns safely and responsibly.
And in that leaked audio of him when he was guaranteeing his tenant that he would buy back his gun and make up for the losses and all that stuff, he even said he didn't even agree with it. It's $750 million just being flushed. And then how did they spend $50 million already and not buy back anything? Like, who's getting all this money for these programs? Like, that's the question. Like 470.
Well, that's the other box it ticks. It expands the bureaucracy, which is a fundamental part of the Liberal coalition. These white-collar workers who don't really serve, I'm sorry to say, bureaucrats out there, don't really serve any purpose at all. It's just a form of welfare for middle-class people, and in exchange for votes and support.
$473 million for the administration of the Canadian dental program. That's the administration of the program, not for the benefits, not for people getting their teeth done. That's just for the administration. And we've got tons of these stories. You go back and watch our videos, right? We should just do a show on all the waste, just lay it out, Elon Musk style, and say, here's your fraud, waste, and corruption. And Iain looks pretty spank again, doesn't he? Like, that's 2 days in a row.
Christmas jumpers next week, though.
Christmas.
So don't get used to it.
And then now Taiwan's mad at Canada, has launched a complaint with the World Trade Organization over Canadian tariffs. You know, we talk about tariffs, with tariffs slapped on imports of steel goods. You know, tariffs on us, horrible tariffs on, somebody else. Right? Must be.
Indeed. Poor Taiwan, eh?
And then we're going to go on to the Son of the Holiday Dome Black story. Fed hackers to cost millions. The Treasury Board yesterday said it reached a settlement in a multi-million-dollar class action claim over the 2020 hacking of over 54,000 taxpayer accounts. Final costs be itemized once terms are submitted to the federal judge for approval. The government of Canada, like any other government and private sector organization in the world, faces ongoing and persistent cyber threats. That's from the board's statement, right? Records show hackers gained access to just under 50,000 CRA accounts, my accounts, used by tax filers, and as well as almost 6,000 My Service Canada accounts used by claimants for EI, Canada Pension, and Old Age Security. Hackers posing account holders typically change their direct deposit information to claim millions in benefits. And that was all for CERB and that stuff too. And they would put it into different accounts. Total claims for damages not detailed. Maximum compensation payments alone worth about $50 to $80. And that's going to run about $285 million.
You're just like, what the hell? What the hell?
And this is some of the
language. That's just 285. Who cares?
And this is some of the language. This is Health Minister Marjorie Michaels. The department in a briefing note says the government will be establishing safe indoor temperature limits for people's homes. When you hear that at first, you're just like, what is going on? A department spokesman said last night that document not to be meant taken literally. You know, it's that the note is the health department is committed to protecting people from climate change. Extreme weather events like floods, wildfires, and extreme heat are negatively affecting the health and well-being of people in our health system, called thermal stress. The changes include specific limits for employees' exposure to hot or cold environments, requiring employers to implement procedures to reduce risk of thermal stress when exposure reaches those limits. No date was set for enforcement. That's what it is. You need another bureaucrat, another law, another bureaucrat,
Exactly.
another law, another bureaucrat, another law. Need more money.
Look, when one of your main constituencies, one of the most important groups within your coalition as a party, is basically millions of people with email jobs who literally just, that's all they do. They just send emails. They just CC people, send really long emails. Nothing ever happens. Sometimes they'll make a PDF or something like that, or maybe even an Excel. You need to give them something to do, don't you? Basically, it's like when you read about really successful generals and they start to get worried because they haven't had a war to fight, they haven't had a battle to fight for a while, and the soldiers are starting to get restless. It's like, all right, lads, let's go and slap the rebels in the mountains or something like that. It's literally just that. It's just like, keep the machine going. Doesn't matter if you achieve
Feed
anything.
the beast.
Nobody's going to hold you to account. We're going to check CBC later. I can already say with 100% confidence, they won't report on this. They don't care about this kind of thing. They don't care about all of the waste. So who's there to scrutinize it? You know, supposedly our system, this democratic system we have, we are supposed to scrutinize it. The people are supposed to scrutinize it and then express our views about it at the ballot box. But we all know that doesn't really happen for many reasons. One of which is that the main media players in Canada just don't report this stuff. So it just goes on and on. And so therefore it is just patronage for these bureaucrats to make sure that there's enough work for them to do.
You can help make a difference. You can like, share, subscribe, and give us a bigger voice in Canada, because the national voices in Canada have been crippled and corrupted. And they're not holding power to account. And the Liberal government could help independent media out like ourselves, but they don't. They willingly don't. We've asked, we've begged, we've done so many things. We've tried so many different avenues, including asking Mark Carney himself when he was here in Kelowna. We were allowed one question and no follow-up. The question was, will you repeal Bill C-18 that continues to suppress independent media voices? And his answer was, and it's basically, I'm kind of like going to paraphrase a bit here, but it was, you're not going to like the answer. We're going to give more money to the CBC. I think that's pretty damn close.
Well, there was some vague stuff about you're doing a great job, but he made sure to clear it was like, not you personally, but local media does a great job. Lots of face scratching. He had no idea what he was talking about.
0.1, 0.3, 0.7,
the point
0.8.
is, if we were from the CBC or something like that, and we were bothered about this kind of thing, we would have had a response by now from the PMO. They would have updated us on what the government's position is. But because we're not, they literally just ignore us. They think that's fine. People whose salaries you all pay for.
Yeah, it's crazy. I lost my monitor here again. Oh, there we go. And this one this one is shocking and stupefying, I'll say. From this department, 37 employees at the Department of Justice. You'd think they're the ones setting the example, right? This is the first year they've done a report. Last year were disciplined for misconduct and the first ever report on wrongdoing by federal lawyers. So they finally do a report, and the complaints range from fake credentials to false insurance claims. The report is an important part of the efforts to reinforce a culture where misconduct and wrongdoing are not tolerated. And that's in the first annual report on addressing misconduct and wrongdoing at the Department of Justice. And you would think that this would be the department that would set the tone for the rest of the departments. Efforts like this and our ongoing commitment to renew our shared value and ethics, and obviously not doing well, counted 27 cases of discipline from written reprimand to firing. No employees named, of course. Why would you do that, right? Why would you do that? Several allegations of harassment were founded against a manager. A disciplinary process was conducted to address the misconduct and result in suspension without pay. In another case, a senior counsel rushed into a council's office, aggressively yelling and shouting at them for using inappropriate language. Harassment and violence. One Justice Department employee falsified an insurance compensation claim. And this was resolved through administrative measures, though. And it said, we'll learn.
Well,
We're going to learn from this. That's what they said, that they will learn from this. We will inevitably learn from this first annual report, wrote the investigators. We will always strive to improve. You'd think the lawyers would know the law, and they should have learned already.
is that? Yeah, I was going to say about on that subject of the law, falsifying an insurance compensation claim. Is that not fraud? You know, is that not against the law? But we'll just deal with that in-house. Naughty, naughty. Maybe they got a very sternly worded email in their inbox that they had to wake up to.
And they paid $166,000 for this report, for this risk assessment. It's just mind-blowing. Like, this is the department that should be setting the tone. And don't forget the PBO's office, which you think is doing an actually great job, is being vilified. And, you know, like they even ran some, the media ran some campaigns. That monitor keeps clicking on. You want to check the connection there? Hey.
But they talk about they want to reinforce a culture where misconduct and wrongdoing are not tolerated. The highest, the most senior figures in the land, such as Gary and Andy Sangari, have been caught red-handed. What else can you call that but misconduct? Where he's on a recording or captured on tape saying that he wouldn't enforce the law for particular people, or he wouldn't, you know, he would actually come and bail people out of a law that he was publicly supporting. What's that if not misconduct? And he's not been punished for that at all. Quite the contrary. He's now getting these little TikTok videos of him looking like a hyperactive penguin waddling around the House of Commons.
And then how much are we paying for these influencers to go there and run these hype videos, these photo ops like Francois? We'll have to check in on Francois Philippe Champagne later and see what kind of photo op he's doing. He needs to get the hype videos going. Crypto dealer fined $536,000. Federal regulators yesterday fined a Bitcoin dealer more than $500,000 for multiple violations of proceeds of crime. And Terrorist Financing Act is among the largest penalties imposed in Parliament and the first regulated crypto dealers since 2019. And there's a couple cases out there right now, and there's a few people that were bilked out of millions of dollars in crypto as well. So, I mean, you know, you expect more crypto rules to be coming down. But here's the sad one. This one is just absolutely, we've been talking about Tim Hortons for quite a while now. We've been talking about, you know, Tim Hortons, that they've been accused of using the Canadian Immigration Department as their HR department. And and Canada Immigration has defended it and saying, oh, nobody will do these jobs. Well, just pay more. And Iain and I have talked about this more and more and more as Canadians are asked to supplement by not getting access to healthcare, having higher rents, and high unemployment rate. So here the unemployment rate is 25% in Grimsby. And Tim Hortons, they sold the Tim Hortons in Grimsby, and the new owner fired everybody and wants to hire all temporary foreign workers. Imagine that, eh?
Happens all the time, though, doesn't it? I mean, it's not exactly new, but
I think things got out of order here, but we'll come back to it because it's or can you jump down there, because this is here's a person talking about it here. It's way down there under life with sun there, and we'll have to go back and forth here. Somehow this one got out of order. Again, if we had a bigger budget, that would help, eh? Can you find it? That one there, yep.
This is breaking news. I've heard from multiple sources. 4 locations in Grimsby, Ontario. The owner has fired all of its Canadian staff and is going to be replacing them with temporary foreign workers. All of these staff members, they've been there for 10, 15, 20 years. All of them are going to be let go. And this is happening not just at this Tim Hortons locations, these 4 in Grimsby, but it's happening all across the province. And that is why I am boycotting Tim Hortons. I never go to Tim Hortons to buy their coffee, to buy their junk food, and they pretend to be.
You get the idea. Anyway, Tim Hortons had a response, and they said, Tim Hortons franchise is planning to retire from the business and would like to sell his restaurant. Following discussions with the 2 franchises, existing team members were told their employment would end, but they've now said that they're going to guarantee their income or guarantee their jobs. I mean, this
Why
is
would
what's
you want to work for somebody like that who's going to lay you all off? Why would you want to stay? You know, like, don't they have the power to block the franchisee as unsuited to represent the Tim Hortons brand or something like that? I'm sure they have that kind of power, don't they?
Tim Hortons, it's been accused, and A&W was in there as well, this temporary foreign workers. And Canadians are asked to pay the price, and that's what part of our headline there was policies that benefit the few at the expense of the many. So Tim Hortons and A&W can get cheap, you know, like what the UN called slave labor, basically. And Canada pays the price by no access to healthcare, people dying in waiting rooms, and that's true. People have, and people not even going to waiting. Like, did you go to the emergency room when we thought you broke your ankle? Did you even bother going?
No. And I have to say, I told you this already, but my first concern when that happened, and I'm not kidding, the very first, so I heard my ankle make a very loud pop, like a balloon, but it was really loud and it hurt a lot. The first thought in my head was, I'm going to have to go to hospital now, and I really don't want to do that. That was the first thing. And yeah, I didn't go because I can't, no way am I the only one that makes that kind of decision. Like, it's just not worth it. I mean, unless your intestines are hanging out or something like that.
Anyway, we're going to go back up to where we were. And this is Australia, France, Germany now cancel Christmas events and New Year's Eve events. And it just seems to be in lockstep, the underlying cause, mass immigration of people who do not share values. And you can play this clip here.
A beautiful and spectacular event, and it has all been canceled because the French government can no longer keep its own people safe from potential radical Islamic terrorists that they have welcomed into their country. Think about that. France has let in so many Middle East and North African migrants that they can no longer assemble in crowds. We're watching one of the most beautiful countries and cultures in the world commit suicide, and this threat has now spread all over the West. This is not singular to Australia or France. It is everywhere now, including in Germany, where many are too scared to go to the country's many famous Christmas.
What happened?
Markets, because they are now so dangerous. They're such a target for radical Islamists. Take a listen.
I don't know what's going on.
It's civilizational suicide.
Yeah, if you just check the back of the computer there, you know what I mean? Anyway,
listen to the details from this report.
We're gonna go to Stephen. Sorry, we're gonna go to the mayor in Calgary that said, "Sorry, we're getting frustrated here because we're just not getting our monitor and everything's kind of like messy here." Again, if we just had a little of that budget from the CBC, we don't have any of that budget. But let's play this clip here. We're gonna try and fight through it today.
Everyone standing here, visibly and publicly in solidarity. We are here to light the menorah, not quietly, not cautiously, but deliberately. My heart is broken for the brothers and sisters of Chabad that you lost over the weekend. I'm angry, and every day we wake to news of violence attacks against Jewish people here at home and around the world. And just days ago, a Hanukkah gathering at Bondi Beach was attacked, turning celebration into terror, and Jewish families were targeted because they are Jewish. We've seen it in Pittsburgh, in California, in Paris, in London, in New York, in Berlin.
That's good.
In Brussels.
Calgary also voting not to fly any other nation's flags in Calgary, and that was narrowly approved.
It's amazing. Isn't that amazing that people object to that kind of thing? Like, why? Do you want to come and explain why we should wave
I wonder what the
flags
vote
of other
would be.
countries?
I wonder what the vote would be if we said we want to fly the American flag in Calgary.
Yeah.
You got to check the connection on the
Indeed.
back of the computer, like on the back.
Or what about the Russian flag?
Or yeah. Anyway.
But yeah,
Merrill
as for the
Lynch.
Christmas market, we didn't really talk about that, but it's so sad, isn't it? Like, to think Christmas markets, they're just such like innocent cultural experiences, aren't they? It's like they've been going on for centuries. And particularly in places like Germany, where it's like it literally looks like a chocolate box cover, doesn't it? It's like where they're having they've got like the wooden stalls and they're selling their schnitzels or whatever it is. To think that they've been attacked so many times, almost every year for the last 10 years or something like that in Germany, that they've had to almost like dehumanize themselves, and they've had to like erect these hideous bollards. I know they're doing that in England as well, in Bath, which is a beautiful sort of old city in England, like kind of similar to a lot of those ones in Germany you might think of, like very, very beautiful. They've had to do it there as well. And in London, I mean, very, very sad.
I feel like I'm going to be like Dave Hodge here pretty soon and getting frustrated with all our technical difficulties. But Tamara Lich, who's under house arrest, just got a job at Rebel News. So that means she's going to get to be able to go out because for her house arrest, she's allowed to work. So now her job is a journalist.
That's funny, isn't it? That's quite a funny loophole.
That's Rebel News. We're not going to play the clip.
I've got amazing news. Rebel News has hired Tamara Lich as our newest rebel.
And you got to turn it off. Like, wild. Absolutely wild. Okay. Skate Canada. We're going to go way down to Skate Canada. Our tech guy's losing it. Skate Canada. Not finding much support amongst the Canadian sport federations. They'd asked everybody else, Hockey Canada, all that, to support them, and they're all saying, no. Alberta's too important for us to boycott it. That cancel culture would have worked in the past, right? They would have all folded up, and Danielle Smith would have been hung out to dry. But this time, Pierre Poilievre stepped up, and a lot of the other ones, I think it was badminton, a whole bunch of other ones have said, no.
If only they'd adopted this sort
Iain,
of Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
If only they'd adopted this approach and this philosophy of solidarity when it might have really mattered, or mattered a lot more than it does now. But I suppose better later than never.
Alberta launching a trial of 120 kilometer an hour speed limits on some roads. We have that in the Coquihalla here, so you can drive 120 on the Coquihalla Highway here. Next year's pilot will be applied to certain rural divided highways, and a similar move in BC started in 2014. The only stretch that's 120 is the Coquihalla. Have you driven on the Autobahn? I have, and it's pretty wild.
It is a bit wild when Audis, particularly Audis and BMWs, just appear. They appear like in the distance in your rearview mirror, and they're just within about half a second. They're like 9. They're just right up on you. Like they go crazy speeds, don't they?
I rented a Ford, some kind of Ford that they don't make here. Ford, small, compact, and in Frankfurt, and I was driving it on the Autobahn. And I thought the Autobahn was a highway, but Autobahn just means freeway. And driving it, and I was maxed out at 160, and the wheels were shaking on this brand new car. I was the first person to take it out, but 160 was max, and it was vibrating. And you would hear, like you just said, you would hear.
Or like you're doing that kind of speed, and they're up behind you. They want you to get out of the way. They like flash you. It's like, okay, sorry, mate.
It's
but
like a game.
It is a bit.
It's like a game of Frogger too, because the truck's only allowed to go 100K, I think, or something like that. And so you have to always move right. So because the fast cars, so you kind of have to like play Frogger. You have to go because on the max speed I could go was 160. So it was a lot of braking and speeding up and braking and speeding up.
Was that kilometers then? 160 kilometers.
Kilometers an hour, yeah.
Yeah, because they do 160 miles an hour.
Oh yeah. But I'm just saying that
on that, yeah.
The car I was driving maxed out. The speedometer went to 160, and then the wheels were shaking at 160. So it was pretty wild. We're going to move on to BC news as we try to fight through our technical difficulties today.
Live from the Now Media newsroom.
I don't know what's going on. Are you there, Iain? Because, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm still here, yeah.
Yeah, so the Musqueam not coming for anybody's private property, and that's They're saying that they want settlement and the benefits of all parties as Aboriginal title side goes on. The Musqueam Indian Band chief said he's willing to sit down and have discussion with BC government and Cowichan tribes as the province remains in a state of turmoil. And he's also ready to go to the Supreme Court as he seeks settlement and relationship with agreements and the benefits of all parties. Can you just check the connection on the back of the computer? On the back of the computer. That one right there. Yeah. So I'm fielding my own technical. Oh, there's days like this that wonder why they get so much money and we get a boot to the throat. That's good. It's working. That's good. There you go. This Cowichan decision and more of it is happening, and Eby will not call back the legislature to fix it. He's being very, very stubborn, obstinate. I don't know, you pick a word.
He's trying to walk a tightrope, isn't he? He doesn't want to. He's based a lot. His party is based a lot of its raison d'etre. It's reason to govern. Its whole governing philosophy is based on the idea that they're the First Nations party. They're the ones that are serious about reconciliation and serious about all this kind of stuff. So they're just. I mean, they've seen their philosophy crash into a wall, haven't they? And I just think this is what I mean when I say I feel like David Eby and the NDP have kind of run out of road. They've run out of autobahn. There's nothing left anymore because they've driven it to the end of they're at the end of the level, and they're just in total confusion, I think, and that's why it's not being fixed immediately. But this is the Musqueam band here, that they're not the Cowichan tribes, the ones that claimed the land. They have a separate claim. They were one of the groups that was unhappy that it went to the Cowichan tribes. And they said, I believe they said, no, actually it's ours, not theirs.
And there's three bands.
As if it couldn't be as if it couldn't be any more of a shite show, as they say across the Atlantic. But the interesting part of this is where he says he's willing to talk, and he's seeking a settlement and relationship agreement that benefits all parties. I'm sure it will benefit all parties, except for the taxpayers, of course. They'll foot the bill.
And at its most basic level, the rule of law, and this is from Eleanor Sturko, vouches safe to the citizens and residents of the country as stable, predictable, and ordered society. And I mean, I've done 4 interviews with Jeffrey Moyse, Aboriginal law expert here. I worked for 6 British Columbian governments. And the Cowichan decision introduces the opposite: unpredictability, erosion of trust. I mean, it's certainty. Certainty is gone. I mean, deals have already been squashed. People can't get financing. And David Eby's answer is, which I think the only answer he has, he's backstopping some of these loans. He thinks it's 150 million, but the Vancouver Sun did an article and he thinks it's $1 billion. And when I talked to Jeffrey Moyse, it could be in the trillions. This mess that they've made.
But they would rather let these numbers be talked about seriously and have an idea in their heads that they might actually release that amount of taxpayers' money. They'd rather do that than the obvious, which is just to stand up on a soapbox with a microphone and make a declaration that lots of crazy things happened in the last 3 centuries and more. However, here's the world now as we see it. Let's live according to that, and let's stop talking about what was going on in the 1820s. For God's sake, let's move on and be a real country, everybody. Thank you. Mic off. Instead of doing that, they would honestly rather risk billions of dollars, liabilities, possibly in the hundreds of billions of dollars. I mean, for God's sake, this is when ideology is so extreme that you will sacrifice literally anything at its altar. You will put anything, it doesn't matter what it is, even your own limbs, you will put it there on the altar because that is the most important thing in your universe.
And chase investment from British Columbia. And you said it best yesterday, if you go watch that show, is that it's the government that makes the laws that the court interprets. You know, David Eby's trying to blame the courts and say, no, it's the way that, it's a lottery when you go in there. He literally has the hammer. He has the hammer, and he's trying to blame somebody else. And this is
same thing that he did. Same thing he did on bail and crime, if you remember. EB loves to blame and undermine our faith in basic institutions in this democracy. He absolutely thrives on that kind of politics. He blames the Prime Minister, he blames Ottawa, he blames Alberta, he blames the courts. Nothing's ever his fault. And that's one of many reasons I think that his days are numbered as somebody that we have to talk about every now and then. I think that will come to a conclusion quite soon.
And Caroline Elliott, she's running for the leadership for the BC Conservatives. I mean, they need to get that sorted out. I think, there's talk that David Eby is going to call an election. I mean, there's also talk from us that does the NDP throw him under the bus as they try to get away from this mess, because the NDP, there's so many pots on the stove boiling over for the NDP right now. And we showed you that poll yesterday showing you like very few people, like it's almost insignificant, people think the NDP is doing a good job at this point. It's only that the Conservatives seem to be in chaos that the NDP even survives, I think.
Totally. That's how they've lived on that. They've dined out on a very, very weak and disorganized opposition. But you can't expect that to remain the case forever.
Mail fraud in British Columbia. 25 charges approved against 5 BC men in major mail theft investigation. That's from the BC prosecution. They have charged 5 men, and that's in Burnaby. They arrested 6, charged 5, and that was a search warrant that they executed. This is how long this takes to get to. In December of 2024, they seized 1,600 items, 572 pieces of mail, 496 bank cards, 346 pieces of ID, 155 checks, an embossing machine, all this other stuff. And charged was Jake Dela Cruz, Carpinpin, I don't know how to say that, Terrence Matthew Ungang, Flavio Delaruin. I don't know, you go on Kelowna now, you can read this.
Flaviano Huayan Dalura.
Don't
forget J. Mark Sibal Malana as well. Yeah. Very easy names to pronounce.
Imagine if they inspected some of the sea cans, what they'd find. Just imagine what they would find. 1% of sea cans. And they're using the mail. This is mail, like where they're stealing mail. And they're also shipping drugs through the mail, through Canada Post.
You'd have to think there's a reasonable chance that if they did search every container, that it would pay for itself. The operation would pay for itself, because they'd probably find so much, like diamonds and things. God knows what they'd find. All sorts of things being smuggled that they could just seize and put straight into the treasury.
Maybe some of the millions of dollars of Canadian art that was stolen that wasn't reported.
Maybe.
We reported.
Yeah, but I mean, on the dark side of it, I'm sure you would find some truly terrible things like slaves, people being trafficked and things like that. You would find all sorts of horrible, disgusting things, wouldn't you? And all the drugs. And
in some of the polls, one of the viewers here, in some of the polls, Aaron Gunn, who hasn't declared that he's running for premier, is running away with some of the polls. But let's do international news here as we struggle through this day of tech things. Things have settled down since we fixed the back of the computer there, though. Just think we had just a small inkling of a budget there. But before we go to international news, let's have a look at CBC and see what they've covered off as we've covered off the Canadian news here for the day. Let's see what the CBC is covering today. I'm sure they've covered off all the stuff we've talked about. I'm sure they got it in there somewhere. Grocery items.
Shooting in Ontario.
You got like this, grocery items on the naughty list. Canadians can't afford to buy groceries, and that's on the naughty list? Like, come on, let's be serious. Like, people looking at the beef counter like it's a luxury item.
And it is. I mean, you said like, it is. It really is.
I don't know. Do you see any of the stories that we talked about?
Trump's Justice Department won't meet deadline to release Epstein files.
Of course, Trump. Like, you got to get at least 4 or 5 Trump on the front page of the CBC. Where's the non-support for Skate Canada? Where's that? Because you'd think that'd be a huge story. right? Where's that?
JD Vance is on here as well.
Where's the story talking about nobody supporting Skate Canada's boycott of Alberta? Nowhere. Nowhere.
No, because they have, you know, they're editorializing, aren't they? They've got their ideas that they want to put out there, and sure enough, that's what they do. Hence, they've done an interview with James Cameron, the director, and had him talk about how stupid Trump is and the 51st state nonsense. Even though James Cameron is a Canadian, like many Canadians, that's chosen to live in the United States, spent his life there.
Well, Diana says there's no good news, but there is. We always try to finish off the day with good news, and we will finish off the day. And I thought we started with good news. The world is going to the Mars. We're going to become an interplanetary species. That's pretty cool. You know what I mean? That's a lofty goal. We haven't had a lofty goal for a while. If we focus on that instead of wars, what a better place the world would be. But what's Canada doing? Can you make a decision on a pipeline? The House of Representatives voted down Democratic-led resolution to limit Trump's use of military force in Venezuela. So there you go. We won't play that clip, though. And then Trump also approved marijuana for Schedule 1 and Schedule 3 drug, placing in the same category as Tylenol codeine. So it's still a controlled substance, but it can be used for legitimate terms of medical applications if it's carefully administered. That's Justin Trudeau's claim to fame, legalizing marijuana in Canada. A lot of the pot stocks took off. I had bought some pot stocks, sold them all on July 1st when it became legal, and I sold them all prior to that because I knew that would be the end of that story for a long time. And turns out most of those stocks just died. When Trump announced this, some of them got a little breather, but short-lived. And Sir Elton John said that was one of the biggest mistakes Canada's ever made, legalizing weed, because it's led to psychosis in many young people here in Canada.
It is. I mean, the problem with it is that it's very difficult to enforce, isn't it? Because the rabbit's out of the hat, and it's just so many people smoke weed, don't they? So it's like, how are you supposed to enforce it? Like the country that we've praised a lot lately in Japan and lots of other countries in East Asia, they've always enforced it. They never opened that can of worms in the first place. So I don't know. I mean, this is pragmatic, isn't it, what Trump's doing? But I don't know, philosophically and morally, maybe it's a questionable decision, or at least that's what some critics have said.
Yeah, it's one thing it has done really well in Canada is generated a lot of taxation. It has been a boom for taxation for Canada. So it has been a really good tax thing for Canadians.
Still a healthy black market in it, though, so it's not capturing all of that potential revenue, is it?
No, but it's from none to lots, right?
Yeah.
There's some stats for you from an accountant. None to lots. That sounds like a politician. Boy,
put that in an Excel document.
There's none, and now there's lots. Somebody's asking for that Well Simple link, and we just sent it off. Trump promising that $1,776, and it's showing and popping up, and it was kind of a cool thing. It was popping up in many service people's men and women's email or their apps. And here you go. Here's a couple of clips of them celebrating their 1776.
I just got 3 things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your...
We won't play a bunch. It's one of the biggest trending things on the internet right now is all the people celebrating their 1776. And they tried the same performative thing here in Canada with the taco and tinsel thing, but it was nothing but performative because it really didn't amount to much for many people. So they didn't get the love that this thing is getting. Like the military is going crazy sharing this Christmas bonus that they got.
Well, that guy he's only got $1,738.34. So I guess was it taxed a little bit or something? What's that about?
No tax. There was no tax on it. It's all good.
So what? He's not got the full amount there.
I don't know. Maybe it was wrong. I didn't pay attention to it. Look at a sharp eye that Iain Burns has there. Maybe somebody pilfered a couple bucks from him. Anyway, just saying, like they tried this in Canada, that taco and tinsel thing last Christmas, right? Remember, because they were giving us a break at Christmas. They were going to give us this thing, and so you could go buy a Christmas tree or some tinsel and get some taco chips and then they promised us $250 too. Remember the promise? They're going to give each Canadian $250, and that went. Did you get your $250? Oh, that's right. Nobody got it. Nobody got it. Yeah. And here's one that relating to that Skate Canada thing. RFK Jr. announcing signing the directive banning transgender surgeries for minors nationwide, and he's basically saying if any of the hospitals take money, that they're not allowed to do transgender surgeries on minors. So.
Just that very phrase, those 5 words, transgender surgeries for minors nationwide. What the hell?
Jarek Isaacman, former astronaut, or maybe still an astronaut, sworn in as President Trump's NASA administrator, already talking about shop on getting to the moon and going to Mars, and none other than on, who's carrying the payload there? SpaceX, the world's leading space monster. And Kelsey Grammer here had something to say. Have you ever watched Frasier or Cheers? Grammer?
That's the coziest TV show ever made. Frasier. If you just want to feel cozy, you don't want any troubles in life, just watch that.
I've watched Cheers over and over the series, and I typically don't watch a lot of TV, but if I do want some mind-numbing stuff, I'll rewatch old episodes of Cheers, Frasier, and Seinfeld for some reason. Seinfeld seems to be one of the better ones.
Seinfeld's kind of cozy, but there seems like there's literally, and they admitted this themselves, like there's literally no point to anything that happened. Like the whole universe is just empty and pointless. Whereas in Frasier, like there is actually a point to it. Like his life actually means something. So I prefer Frasier.
I'm sure a lot of people that watch what Kelsey Grammer is going to say here can relate to. And I've experienced it, and I'm sure you have as well. But let's play this clip here.
The habits of the left when they are out of power is to just keep throwing lawnmowers or throwing rocks at glass houses, whatever you want to say. But they know it's not true. They know I'm not a racist, but they'd call me one. They know I'm not a fascist, but they'd call me one. But it's more important that I know I'm not one. And what's really more important, I think, for Republicans in general now is to understand that Donald Trump's not standing in the gap anymore. He can't protect us anymore. They dished out everything they could give him. They tried to kill him. They tried to kill him twice. They tried to imprison him for life. They tried to impeach him twice. He stood there bravely and took everything of it. And we all voted for him because he was still standing at the end of the day. We actually voted for him because of the left. So they got what they got their own desserts. But now they're after us. There's a guy in Virginia who got elected who thinks he should actually kill his opponent's children. This is shocking to me. That's not the world I grew up in. And I can't believe that actually happened. I can't believe there's that many people in Virginia that would vote that way. I actually may not believe that there's that many people in Virginia that voted that way. I don't know how it's possible, but there it is. And as long as that's what's going on, then they've kind of lost the plot, but they're so angry they're gonna try to win it back. And
That's good. You get the idea, and that's that cancel culture, that those meaningless attacks. We see that even on this, like some of the comments here. I mean, it's lasting longer in Canada because the Liberals are still in power. They use that cancel culture, and they use all those words. They label like crazy. They pull out that label gun. They try to devalue you. And to discredit you and make you meaningless. I mean, all those terms that were used in Canada, anti-vaxxer, misogynist, racist, anytime you complained about immigration, all those things.
Yeah, and those people, the political activists that subscribe to that idea are in power in this country. Still, they're not. At least they don't have the White House in America, but they're still in power here. You know, they have the control of this country's institutions, political institutions. So
They
be
have control
careful.
of the media. They have control of the media. They silence voices. I mean, they've done everything they could to rebel. Like, look at what CBC did to rebel at the leadership debate. Look what they did to them, and made up stories. That's been found out later. Made up stories about fearing for their safety. How could you fear for your safety when you have $1.55 billion? I don't know. Fearing that somebody's going to.
They find a way.
Dive into your box of donuts that's sitting there, or what's going on? You got the thing about Bitcoin, and Bitcoin News says Trump says there's going to be we won't play the clip. There's 1,600 new electricity generating plants to be open in the next 12 months. I don't know how they're going to do it. They claim they're going to do it, though. And we talked about it yesterday. If you go back and watch the show, Alberta has figured it out. AI needs energy. Energy is everything. And AI and energy and cold weather, really good. So, I mean, Alberta's got it made, and they've got a few of those AI data centers opening up in Alberta. BC, on the other hand, has said they're going to ration their energy. They said, like, so if you're an AI data center, where are you going to go? Alberta or British Columbia? Just think about it. You read what the premier says in Alberta. Come on in. We're going to fire up whatever. We got all this energy. We want to use it. We want to maximize the use of energy. Or go to BC, where they say you're not certain whether you're going to where the data center you build your land on, if you can have it or you keep it, and we're rationing our energy here. I don't know.
Sounds like a plan for the future to me.
Planning and investments coming like crazy. Like David Eby says, there's tons of shovel-ready projects. How about shovels in the ground? I do have Ravi Parmar on later today, Forest Minister. We're going to talk to him. That's great that he's coming on. But here is a chart here showing you the federal workers in. Did Doge actually work? And number of federal workers in thousands. This is lots. So there is a big drop off. But look at after COVID, and this has happened. The same thing has happened in British Columbia. The same thing has happened in Ottawa. We've seen the public sector grow at an astronomical rate compared to the private sector in Canada. And this is like they just announced like how many people in the hundreds of thousands have left the federal workforce there, and Trump and Elon fired thousands.
Somewhat cheeky y-axis there, though. I must say the range there is a little bit misleading. But as you often say, very easy to manipulate numbers, isn't it, and present them in a way that looks dramatic.
You talked about this. You talked about immigration and how many immigrants have been. Kristi Noem, the former governor of South Dakota, has disclosed that over 2.2 million illegal immigrants have left on their own. This is where they encouraged them and paid them to leave. And they said, and I said that to you when you said that many left. According to them, 2.2 have left willingly and took the money. And Trump took office. They removed 650,000 by the end of the year, making it about 2.85 million. But I mean, Joe Biden let in about that much in a week. I don't know. I mean, I'm kidding. Maybe a week and a half.
It kind of like, just in terms of humans moving in numbers, that's very rare. That's barely ever been seen in the history of humanity. It's to think that was played down to the extent that it was, and it wasn't even, if it wasn't for the Republicans and Fox News obsessing over the border, it just wouldn't have even been an issue, would it, to the Biden White House? I mean, you remember Kamala Harris, the border czar, who literally hadn't even been to the border. They didn't think it was such a big deal. But this is like, you'd be tempted to say biblical levels of human migration. But the sort of the numbers involved in biblical migrations were a tiny, tiny fraction of the amount of people here that that went across the US border. Just kind of like the actual numbers, when you really stare at them and have a look at them, just unfathomable. So many people.
The gaslighting was just crazy, and the media were just going along with it. No different than what happens here in Canada. The gaslighting and the media that goes along with it. Just look at the interviews. Look at the interviews and try to be critical of their interview with Rosemary Barton on what's going on with trade here in Canada, and that interview. Like one of the few interviews where Mark Carney has sat down with a Canadian journalist. I say that expert journalist there, with quotes, I guess you could say. Yeah, and then somebody's saying that Iain cleans up. Is there an office party? No, it's the second day in a row. This is the new look of the show. What do you think? Pretty impressive, isn't it? And then we're just showing you this about shipbuilding, because Canada, we don't have much of a navy left. And we used to be one of the world's biggest shipbuilders. I think in the Second World War, we were some of the best. But not so much lately. And we gave out I think it's 1.1 billion to the Chinese shipyards of Canadian Infrastructure Bank money, and along with billions of other monies, because we can't even build ferries, never mind warships. But here's a little bit on warships here, a small little clip on warships and what the Americans are doing, building a golden fleet.
As you've heard me say, we will field capability at the speed of the threat in real time, not the comfort level of bureaucracy. We will deliver on a wartime footing, and we will unleash the American industrial...
Actually pretty good. Like, you know, it goes on and just talks about the amount of ships that they're going to build. The Navy is one of the most important things for dominance, and the American Navy is one of the most dominant forces in the world, and that's how they have so much control. The English Empire was built on a Navy. It was all about Navy, and right now there's a blockade going on in Venezuela, and you can't do a blockade without ships, massive ships.
You can't expect to be a serious trading or military power nowadays without having a navy. It's still the number one, force that you require, and it's what holds the Chinese back. That's what one of the reasons the Chinese are so obsessed with Taiwan, because it's part of, again, consult your map. It's part of what they call the first island chain, and it's kind of what holds China in as a naval power, because it's so much easier to destroy a navy from land like that if you're locked in. So yeah, it's all about the navy. Everything comes back really to the navy. It's also one of the reasons that Russia today is not really that much of a serious power, because they don't really have a navy to speak of.
I mean, what country has one of the largest unprotected coastlines? Why should I say unprotected? What country has one of the largest coastlines in the world?
I think it is the largest, isn't it? Canada's?
All right, that's us. That's us. And what's our navy? How many subs?
It is the largest coastline. It's 243,000 kilometers.
Yeah. And here's Norway.
That would get you to the moon, wouldn't it? That's how big Canada's coastline is.
No, and again, just to note, no nuclear subs, no nuclear warships. 4 diesel subs. I think only 2 are working, and 2 of them we bought in a UK garage sale. And we're planning on buying 9 more. We're planning. I don't know how long that decision could take, because we still haven't committed to that decision. We still haven't committed to the F-35s, are now considering the Gripens because of political reasons. But anyway, Norway is set to acquire 6 Type 26 frigates, joining the Royal Navy's 8 ships to form one of NATO's strongest anti-submarine fleets in the North Atlantic. How did Norway afford these ships? Oh, right. They sell oil and gas. We refuse to do that.
Hell yeah.
Reason there's no business.
Well, they've got this extremely rare combination of an abundance of hydropower and also an abundance of hydrocarbons. So they use the hydropower to cheaply fuel their own economy, and then they sell the hydrocarbons overseas for scads of cash. I can't think of any other countries in that position off the top of my head, but it's an enviable position to be in.
You have to wonder what, like, when the Norwegians sit around and say, we have to worry, because, we share the Arctic there. You'd have to wonder, they're just like, you know, like we're going to build all these ships, you know, we're using all our energy, and they're just like, and it's great that Canada doesn't utilize its energy for Norway. It's great for the Americans. It's great for the Saudis. It's great for a whole bunch of people because Canada has you know, some of the top reserves in oil and gas. And if we don't want to sell it, that makes theirs more valuable. Imagine that, hey? Imagine that.
Theirs is also in the sea, by the way. It's in the North Sea. That thing that the Vikings struggled so hard to sail over. That's where they go to get their oil and gas.
And
Whereas
the UK said
in
no
Canada, you just have to drive a massive truck into northern Alberta and scoop it up.
And the UK decided not to go into the North Sea. And they've impoverished their nation. And then people like yourself, when you lived there, had to ration your energy.
Well, they did go into the North Sea, but then they just gave up. And they started, they're taxing it right now at 75%, I believe. They call it a windfall tax of the profits of the North Sea oil companies. But they wanted to explore further, a lot of oil companies, and they were just told no. And also, same goes with fracking. They were just told, no, we're just going to have wind turbines now. But it's interesting that you mentioned that about Britain, because there's an opinion piece in the Globe and Mail today, and it's a Canadian from British Columbia, actually, moved from Vancouver to England. And he's talking about how freezing cold it is in houses in England and how expensive it is to heat your house. But he still finds a way. He doesn't talk about the reasons. He makes it seem like it's a choice. And then he, at the end, he finds a way to say that something about climate change and you've got to save the planet, guys, kind of thing. So it's, even when presented with the reality of a low energy society like Britain, some Canadians at least are still happy to go along with the old prescriptions.
We got some really good stuff at the end here. We're almost done, so you're going to love it at the end here. So stick with us here. You're almost there. And this is Emmanuel Macron. It says that we need to dialogue, as, you know, Ursula von der Leyen and them saying, no, you know, Ursula von der Leyen just wants the money. And he said, talking amongst ourselves doesn't do much, instead of going to talk to Moscow. And Putin retorting back too and saying that he's agreeing to all that Trump wants. And so there is dialogue starting to happen there. And it sounds like, you know, we're closer than we have been, but close doesn't get you anywhere. But I did an interview.
Well, this is the context of this is they've just given 95 billion euros. I think it's 90 something to Ukraine, and that's because they couldn't agree among themselves to seize the Russian assets, which are worth something like 250 billion euros or something like that. So they've agreed to spend their own money, and right after that, or, you know, at the same time, we have Macron saying, let's talk peace, like, let's talk to Putin, let's figure it out. So it's kind of quite interesting timing.
I think Putin replied with thieves, because, you know, somebody said they're stealing the money, Russian money, and he said they're not thieves because thieves do it under the darkness, and he said they're burglars because they're doing it out in the open. Anyway.
But they're not, though. They're not actually doing it, which
no, they're not.
Is interesting to look at. I mean, the sort of language that they use is very different to the actions that they ultimately take at the European Union, which is one of the many reasons why nobody takes them seriously.
Christine Lagarde, who has access to the money or the keys to the money, said she will not cough it up unless there's unanimous, like, according to the rules. So she's not willing to part with some of the rules that are set out. And this is Viktor Orban saying this as well. We can play a little clip from Viktor, an old Hungarian compatriot.
Guarantees for what? The whole idea is a stupid one. To take away the money of somebody. There are two countries which are in war, yeah? It's not European Union, Russia and Ukraine. And somebody, European Union, would like to take away the money of one of the warring parties and then to give it to another one. It's a marching into the war. So the Belgian Prime Minister is right. We should not do that.
And then here's your favorite guy that seems to be taking some of the heat from Keir Starmer lately. Anthony Albanese taking up Mark Carney's gun buyback program here and focusing his attention, like some of the interviews he's been doing. he barely talks about what really happened and goes right to neo-Nazism, right-wing extremism, and he just seems to want to push all the attention over there. But the Australian government announced a buyback program in the wake of the Islamist massacre of Jews. It doesn't work here, so why is it going to work? The Prime Minister said the father and son team of Islamic extremists, we know that one of these terrorists held a firearm license, had 6 guns, in spite of living in the middle of Sydney's suburbs.
So,
Yeah.
Sydney, look again. Look, get my best friend out. Look at the map. Look at Sydney. You don't have to drive very far to be out in the bush. So obviously, like, it's fine that somebody should have guns in a city, but it's not about with these people and people on this side of the political spectrum, or people who are sort of whose brains have been colonized by these ideas. It's not about facts or reality or approaching something rationally. It's about looking like you're doing something, and maybe also doing something that you secretly wanted to do all along anyway, like take dangerous things off your citizens. But the fact that they sort of seize the opportunity of a disaster, of a tragedy, is morally unforgivable, really, isn't it? And in Britain, and I'm sure the same thing will be going on in Australia, they used the opportunity presented by Islamist massacres to pass a lot of the draconian legislation that puts people in prison for speech offences. A lot of that kind of ultimately derives from that. And they're always banging that drum. Whenever there's a terrorist attack in Britain, they're always banging that drum. Let's crack down on the internet. I mean, you know that one in Southport where the kid killed the girls at the Taylor Swift concert? Because he did it with a knife that he bought off Amazon or something like that. They started to refer to him as like the Amazon killer. And they were like, oh, we've got to crack down on Amazon. You know, maybe there's another common denominator in all of these tragedies, and it's not the random implements that these scumbags use to kill innocent people. It's something to do with what's in their heads.
And then some fun in Albania. There's lots of tension in Europe, and this is the star that we want to hitch our wagon to. Europe seems to be crumbling under its own mess and choices that they made. Their energy choices they've made, they're really suffering. They're losing companies, people's standard of living dropping, their immigration things that they've done. And then here in Albania, we're going to play a small clip here.
Respektoni rregulloren.
It's just the chaos there, right? So
they love a bit of that now and then, don't they? And some parliaments, you see that sometimes in the Greek one and the Italian one and stuff like that. They like to slap each other now and then.
Well, there's talk in Albania that, you know, like the power and the body and power, the left is trying to put into place things that, you know, like really restrict the right from assuming power. We haven't seen that anywhere, have we? Haven't seen that play out anywhere in the world? Not in the United States, for sure. And surely not in Canada. Not with a corrupted, crippled media that continues to prop up one government, one political party. Seems odd, no? And this one here, you can add some color to this one here. This is in the UK on jury trials, and now on sentences under 2 years. You don't even get appeal. Let's play this clip here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to do my best to get an answer, but I'm not sure I'm going to get one based on the two we've just heard. Without any kind of mandate, the government wants to do away with jury trials, and it wants to extend the powers of magistrates to sentence people for up to 2 years without any right to appeal, conviction or sentence. Can she confirm that last year, of 5,000 cases appealed from magistrates' courts, more than 40% were upheld? Is it the government's policy to simply live with this number of miscarriages of justice?
Talk about power for a judge. You don't even get an appeal. That's it. Just like 2 years. That tweet or that meme was no good. 2 years.
Yeah. Well, juries are still going to be in place for certain crimes. certain cases. But yeah, I mean, it gives these magistrates a lot more power. And I have to say, magistrates, you might have it in your mind that magistrates are kind of like judges or something like that, but they're not. They're often retired school teachers and stuff like that who do it on a, it's almost like a semi-voluntary activity. It's like some people go and become like traffic wardens to help the kids cross the road. Some other people go and become magistrates. Like a lot of these people don't know their arse from their elbow, to coin a phrase. And I say that as someone who I spent quite a number of years in magistrates' courts in England, and I saw just how ignorant they were, and they rely on whispers from the legally trained clerk of the court, people like that. They rely on advice because they don't really know anything, because they're not like professional lawyers or anything, or judges. It's disgraceful. It's shocking. And that's when I was doing that, by the way, when I was going to magistrates court, the most they could sentence somebody to was 6 months. Then it was increased. It's been incrementally increased, and here we are now. They're getting into the kind of territory where they can really ruin somebody's life, even though, like I say, many of them have no idea what they're doing.
Well, King Arthur and King Richard would be upset to realize that King John and the Sheriff of Nottingham are running rampant, and they're just creating new rules and laws and sticking up a poster, basically. 2 years without even an appeal, right? Just like, that's wild.
Well, I mean, it's been going on in Britain for so long, and I have to say, Nick, the name of this guy here, who's all self-righteous and angry about this, his name is Nick Timothy, and he was one of the most senior advisors, like the number 2 or number 3 person in the government of Theresa May, who's Prime Minister in the Conservative Party. Complete and utter failure of a woman who trashed many features of what was left of Britain. So it's like, this is the other problem with Britain. Everybody in the country and everybody in the elite has, like, their hands are just dripping with the blood of Britain. They're all guilty men, you know? So how on earth do you take somebody like that seriously? He stands up and he gets on his high horse and starts chatting like that. It's like, you very much helped damage the country in this rather profound way. And now he squats in Parliament rather than moving out of the way and letting somebody else come in who isn't quite so dirty.
Oh, here, again, if you're connected, things are better. Victorian Premier Jacinta Allen revealed her husband will lose his license for 3 months after what she calls drink driving, causing a collision. But she said they're going to give him $1,000 cash. Cash money. Let's play a little clip from Jacinta.
On the evening before, on Wednesday evening, we'd celebrated our son's birthday with family at a local pub before we headed home around 8 p.m. My husband is also currently taking medication for a health issue, and as a result of the medication mixing with the alcohol from the night before, he simply shouldn't have been driving the following morning. He understands that, I understand that, and for this we are both truly sorry. We have made a donation today to the Amber Community Charity, a road safety organisation.
That's good. There you go. As long as you make that donation.
Sounds very contrite.
Yeah. As long as you make that donation, and I'm not sure how the blowing in the breathalyzer changed, the medication changed that, but.
Well, also the fact that he had alcohol in his system from the previous night, which is what a lot of people talk about, that is like, oh, that's not real. It's like, you're not really drunk. It's just you had a drink yesterday, so it's like in your blood, but you're not really drunk. So there's lots of excuses were built into that. Sorry.
But if you go back to the previous story, you did a meme on the internet, and that'll be 2 years for you. No appeal. Take them away.
One rule for me, another for thee, says Australia's elite.
Yeah, and then Tesla on a tear again as usual, and Optimus and all the stuff that's going on there. Just showing you that prior to showing you, we've showed you the clips with Optimus running around and stuff like that, and like SpaceX and the launches and all that. But here's our friend AOC explaining how stupid Elon Musk is. Let's play this clip here.
Dude is probably one of the most unintelligent billionaires I have ever met or seen. are witnessed, which, you know, you can probably even glean that from watching these people on TV. Anyways, all of that is to say is that they don't do their homework. Clearly, like, they're putting 19-year-olds in at the Treasury. This dude is not smart. And the danger in the lack of intelligence and the lack of expertise that Elon has. I mean, this guy is one of the most morally vacant, but also just least knowledgeable about these systems that we really know of. But the point is that what that means is that they're going to hit a button inevitably. They are going to hit a button and things can go sideways. This dude.
I mean, have you seen that Jane Goodall meme going around where it's like, after something like that, it's just Jane Goodall like looking through a telescope or something saying, fascinating behavior. There is, in a sense, it is fascinating, isn't it? As an indication of, like, how is it possible to sustain a lot of the beliefs that she has and the sort of her philosophy? How is it possible to sustain this absurd philosophy that contradicts itself constantly? And the answer might be there, right there. It is to think things like that Elon Musk is stupid. Therefore, you have to follow that through. You have to keep going with that. So the next step is, therefore, he has like $600 billion through what? Because he's a crook, because he's a bad guy, because he's evil, that kind of thing. It just makes it so, it completely changes how you perceive society and your fellow man or woman. It really, just think about that. Imagine that perspective. So you look at everyone. Everybody got what they got because they're bad people or good people, for that matter. It's an astonishing psychology, like perspective on the world, and that is an insight. I think it's, even though she's insufferable, that is a valuable insight, I think, into the way that a lot of people like that think.
I've talked to quite a few people here in Kelowna on Elon Musk, and they say things like, well, he's never built anything. He just stole those companies. And I tell them the real story, and they're just like, oh, he took away Starlink from the Ukrainians and left them there. I'm just like, nope. They just say things like, because she says something, and they take it away as the gospel. They take it away as the gospel that this person said this, and that this person could clearly not do what he's done. The most consequential person on this planet right now. And here's an example of the electric car he's created. And we're going to play a small clip. Well, no, we won't play the clip, but a $90,000 car beating a Ferrari, a $720,000 car. I mean, I drive a Tesla. They are cheaper, faster, better. Quality's better, safest cars on the road. Seems to be done okay with the cars. TikTok.
What else do you get for 720 grand if it's not fast? If it's not as fast as a Tesla? What else do you get? Because they're usually quite cramped, aren't they, those cars? So it's not roomy.
It's not comfort. Yeah, well, it's status, though. You know what I mean? Like, that is, you get you get yourself like a partner that has very long nails and lots of jewelry. I don't know what you get. And that partner could be anybody. Lots of people like long nails and jewelry.
Could be Justin Trudeau.
We're going to have Justin Trudeau stick around. We're almost done. TikTok stays alive. U.S. control locked in at last. So that deal goes through. So that deal with the partners is going through. Oracle, one of the big partners in that. And so ByteDance has agreed to hand real control of U.S. operations to TikTok. So TikTok survives the United States of America. There you go. TikTok creators, you're in like Flynn.
It was always going to happen. They just needed to find the right deal, I guess.
And we're going to remind you again that television is dead. This is from yesterday, but television is dead. If you didn't know it, CBC, television's dead. But their budget not dead. I wonder what they're going to do if they're not even on the air, if nobody's watching. Remember, they wouldn't disclose. This is another one. Catherine Tate. Remember or was it the new CEO? They asked how many subscribers Gem has. They would not provide that information. They said it was secretive. Chrystia Freeland also has a $4.5 billion bag of cash from Canada that she's going to use in Ukraine for the reconstruction. that we're not allowed to know how it's used because it is, again, secretive.
I mean, we might find that in January 2035. So be fair.
The money that was given to that group we talked about yesterday for the pro-Palestinian stuff, that was secretive too. Secrets. Everybody loves a good secret, don't they? But here's a former Brit talking about your favorite, well, actually I shouldn't say our favorite Hall of Famer here at the show, the Fool of the Day Hall of Famer. The only person that has a retired jersey here on the show so far as the Hall of Famer is Justin Trudeau. But here's Russell Brand talking about none other than Justin Trudeau at a Turning Point event in Phoenix, Arizona.
My ex-wife's parents are here. They're Christians, and I love them. I love Mary Perry, God bless you. Thank you for bringing the message to me. I've got to say, though, look, Katy Perry, I was married to her. I love her still, and I'm glad that her mum's in the room to hear me say this, but look, I was okay with Orlando Bloom. But Justin Trudeau! Come on, man! Don't put me in a category with that guy! That globalist stooge!
I still laugh every time I watch that.
He looks a little bit like Justin Trudeau's brother, or half-brother, if you know who I mean, the one that went on Tucker Carlson. So yeah, maybe he belongs in that category.
It is funny. I'm not a big fan of Russell Brand either, but I just thought that was hilarious.
He's just, he strikes me as what the kids call a grifter, really. I mean, he was so far on the left and such a nutcase on the left when he was in England, and actually a bit when he's in America, and then he just like flipped on a dime, and now he's like getting baptized in the river and stuff, and just a bit too hard to believe, I think, that kind of a conversion.
Yeah, it's kind of like I watched a couple of his videos and I just had a tough time with him, so it's just like, okay. I mean, he's better off as a comedian.
He's a bit wide-eyed as well, isn't he? A bit sort of swirly-eyed. It's like, and they're going to get you with their lasers. It's like,
but he is,
Russ.
as a comedian and as a movie star, he is quite funny, and he's sharp. He's got a sharp wit. That's what makes him a great comedian.
Very quick-witted, yeah.
Got a sharp wit. Like, I wouldn't want to sit down and try to like bash him because you might come out pretty bloody in that bashing. But this one has got to be the hypocrisy moment of the year. Like right at the end, King Charles comes in there to take the hypocrisy trophy home with him because he's got to add it to all his other trophies and all the gold. Nobody does pomp like King Charles and the royals. Let's listen to what the king has to say. I thought he was falling asleep there, but I realized he's just reading from a note.
The country move on from the recent cost of living challenges by prioritizing wealth creation for all communities. The country move on from the recent cost of living challenges.
It just plays over. It's just a small clip. It wouldn't be like if he said that if he wasn't all decked out in the golden throne and the crown and you know the robes and all that. Maybe it would land a little better, right? Do you know what I mean? Just we realize you can't afford to eat, but you know, you must.
It's also that like lazy aristocratic slur, the way he speaks, where he's like, and the cost of living crisis, which I'm sure is affecting you peasants awfully. He speaks like he almost like belongs in the 18th century or something, the way he speaks. And actually, a lot of his views belong in that century, I think, as well.
Yeah. You know, like somebody just said, some of the boomers say that Elon's a Nazi. That's just like absolutely ludicrous. But anyway, hey.
Well, this person is talking about saying that we don't know anything about Russell Brand. I mean, I have actually sat down and listened to some of his stuff.
Well,
and I certainly knew what he was about when he was on the extreme left. I knew all about him then, because that was when he was in England. And he was on the TV all the time. He would support any sort of stupid left-wing idea. And now I'm sorry to say, sorry to disappoint you, but I think he's just gone. He's just an inversion. He's the same thing but with a different set of ideas. And he claims to be on the right now.
Yeah,
you know, broken clock can be right twice a day and all that. I'm sure he's still right about a lot of things. Inevitably, and almost by accident, you're going to be right about certain things. But I just think his overall package now, that's not for me. I don't think he's like a serious thinker.
Can you, maybe you probably know, I don't know who Alex Phillips is. I just thought it was a good point to end the week with. Alex Phillips goes on a rant because you've shared some of this.
She's a journalist in England. I think she used to work for LBC or something, or the Telegraph maybe.
But I've heard a lot of people from the UK share similar thoughts, and she's very poignant in what she has to say. And I just thought I'd share it with people as we close off the show in the week. Next week is the Christmas week. We won't be on Christmas Day, sadly, but we're gonna be on Boxing Day though. And
are we? I don't know. Did we agree to that?
I don't know.
I've got Christmas children to care for, but
children
certainly right up till Christmas.
Listen, what's that? What was your name in that movie? You called me Ebenezer, didn't you? You're Bob Cratchit.
Oh yeah, Ebenezer. Bob Cratchit. Yeah. Because you were talking about half the day.
Wanted a whole day of Christmas off? Like, oh my God! Like, come on, man. We got to compete with the CBC. Anyway, let's play this.
They'll not be doing anything. I can promise you that.
Let's play this clip from Alex Phillips. She's probably saying what a lot of people are scared to say.
Taxes I pay? Like, why am I living in a country where I hate being here? I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate London. I despise it. I'm not safe. I'm not protected. I'm the one who's constantly out there in the world. Oh, you're a monster, you're a Nazi, you're a racist, you're a xenophobe. Be kind. Fuck off, be kind. Fuck off. I didn't live 41 years of my life working hard, dragging myself up from a working class family to get where I am, to pay this tax. And my thanks is to be name called, have my car bashed in, groped, mugged, outpriced from the housing market. Fuck off. That's how I feel. That's how a lot of people out there are feeling, which is why people are leaving. And 5 years, even 2 years ago, it wasn't this bad.
If you think that she's putting that on for show, or that she doesn't represent anyone but herself, I would just say, from my own anecdotal evidence, that could be dozens of people that I know personally living in England. It's not an uncommon sentiment. Not uncommon at all to hear that.
Well, I can tell you right now that I know lots of people from the UK that will echo that. And I will tell you lots of people in Canada feel the same way right now. And you've said that the UK is just in the future. And if Canada wants to look for its future, do nothing but just look over the UK. It's happening. How many times have you said it on the show? Just look over there. That's our future. It's coming here. And look over to
That's also where our fiscal situation is headed too, which means that's where the tax levels are headed. It's shockingly bad in terms of the tax rates in England, but that's because their fiscal situation is so bad, because they've wasted so much money, they've taken on so much debt, funded deficits for so long that they don't have any money, so they've got to steal it from the people. That's also coming to Canada. So what she's complaining about there, like all her money being taken away in taxes and then the country's still garbage, that is the fiscal trajectory that we're on, that Jason Jakes warned about.
Well, that's our show for today. We hope you enjoyed the week and the show. We're back on Monday for sure, and we'll let you know what shows we're going to do during the Christmas week and the follow-up. And we're hoping for a better 2026. But we shared that Wealthsimple code. If you go use that link, you can get $25 if you open that account. 0 fees. I mean, one of the cool things about it is you can buy fractional shares, no transaction fee. You can't even, I have a CIBC account. You pay $7 in, $7 out. So if you buy $10 worth of stock almost has to triple before you break even. So fractional shares at no transactional cost. No fees. And then you can open bank accounts, checking accounts, TFSAs, FHSAs, RRSPs, all those things you can open up on there. You can get a credit card there as well. And you have to ask yourself, why are you paying banking fees? Why are you still paying banking fees when there is alternatives out there? And congrats to Iain here, joining the ties, the two ties. tied up.
It's not enough for James Fawcett, though, is it? He wants the haircut. I mean, as I said in a previous show, I am planning on having a haircut.
Tell you what.
Getting a haircut.
Tell you what, Iain will commit right now, and I'll commit as well. If we get even a couple decimal places from the CBC, if the CBC writes us a check for $1 million of their $1.55 billion, we'll let Rosemary Barton cut Iain's hair.
Every hair on my body can be shaved off. I'll do it. I'll do it bald.
That's it. That's our show, and we thank you for watching Now Media.
Support the news. We live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us. No government funding, no outside influence. Kelowna Now, local, independent. News you can trust.